tell me, how many Airbnb hosts do we already have in the room? Wow. Holy. Or furnished rental, yeah. I own a corporate housing company, so you guys, y'all count too, right? All right, so I decided that for this presentation, one, we're all friends here. Like, literally, I look across table to table, and I recognize so many faces, and it makes getting up here easy. But I'm going to jump to the meat and potatoes of this, because I feel like so many of you understand Airbnb now that you can get through that on your own. What you can't do is systematize. What you can't do is automate. And that's really where I have excelled. And it came from a necessity. I had to. I was forced to. I started in real estate with flipping houses. I still do that. But that's kind of my background. And that morphed into staging my houses. And then it morphed into flipping for other people, right? Whenever all my money was deployed to my flips, I kind of did this intermediate where I was redoing houses for doctors and lawyers and flipping and staging their homes. And I lovingly got the nickname the Chip and Joanna of North Alabama. But there's no Chip. Well, I have a husband, but he wasn't in the business. So that's a little bit of my background, where I came from and how I ended up in Airbnb. But what we're going to talk about is mastering furnished rentals through automating your repetitive tasks. Now, if you guys see me looking behind me, it's because I have nothing in front of me. It's nice and blank, so y'all just bear with me. So what I do now is I help short-term rental entrepreneurs lead teams, increase profit, automate integrated systems, and most importantly, I help them get their lives back. So many people get caught up in the day-to-day activities whenever it comes to short-term rentals, because there's a lot of moving parts. It seems simple whenever you first think about it, like furnish it, rent it out, I'm never going to hear from them. False. You're going to hear from them. And with so many hosts in the room, you know that. You've experienced that firsthand. And so I have found that I'm able to help a lot of people actually get their time back with their families, right? And still have that increased cash flow. Disclaimer, right? We've heard this over and over. This is from my personal experience, my school of hard knocks, and I'm sharing it with you. If you glean something educational from it, that's awesome. But I always want to point you to ask the right person the right questions, right? Talk to your attorneys, talk to your CPAs, talk to the professionals in the field. And even for me, you're going to get different advice from me depending on your situation. What do I mean by that? If a trust, a big trust, a family account, or a hedge schedules a consult with me, I'm going to tell them a lot different advice than what I'm going to tell a mom and pop landlord who's converting 2 of his units into short-term rentals, right? Completely different advice. So sometimes you're going to hear things that contradict each other, and that's okay, because it's whenever I'm talking to you individually, that is meant for your journey. And I have a well-rounded ability to see where people are at and what they need. So sometimes different people, different situations. 10 houses is a big difference, but when people are buying 100 doors, that's a real big difference, right? All right, so let me start with a little story. When I first started in real estate, I was flipping. I was 18 years old whenever I bought my first flip, and it wasn't meant to be a flip at first. I was looking for a place to crash between school and work, and I lived an hour away from both. And it ended up being my first flip. But whenever I got introduced into a network, it was done by my good friend John Morey, and he actually invited me. It was like a short one-liner, like, come to the RIA, you know. He invited me to a RIA, and in that RIA, I got to meet all the individuals I needed that now help my business operate. But I'll tell you, it came with a bit of embarrassment, or I had a chip on my shoulder. And what I mean by that is I didn't want to tell anybody, I'm new, I know nothing, what's ROI, like what are these things, right? If you are new here, my experience has been that when I told people I didn't know anything about investing, but I'm doing it anyways, they took me under their wing and they showed me these are all the things that I've done wrong, And I don't want you to make the same mistakes. So if you are new to real estate, have some humility. Share with people like, I don't know anything, but I'd love to learn from you, right? The people are in this room to teach you how. You just have to be open with them, right? So essentially, I'm going to encourage all of you to attend your local RIAs. Like spokes on a wheel, you will find these people. And as they emerge, your business will start operating more and more without you. That's precisely what happened to me, right? The wheels started turning, and it didn't require me. It's a big deal, you guys. So if you don't know what a RIA is, it's a Real Estate Investors Association. Most towns have them, all right? But that's where I really got my start. And, well, how many of you would consider yourself new here? Like, you don't know a lot? Y'all, you're in the right place. Every single name that you saw up there is in this room. How many private lenders do we have in the room? Raise your hand. Ooh, those are all the golden unicorns, right? Like, oh, those don't exist. Who's going to give me money? They're in the room. They are totally in the room. How many contractors are in the room? Got some of those. How many appraisers? Attorneys. I mean, the list goes on. They are here. Network, get to know these people. So early on, it took me a bit to figure out this method, which was, oh, is it a good deal? Is it a bad deal? Do I do the deal? How do I know, right? I realized that it was three things. Three things had to happen. I had to line up the exit strategy. How am I going to get out of this deal, right? How do I win? How does the private lender win? How does the seller win, right? I had to understand protection, and I had to make sure that I knew that the documents were at that closing table that I needed. And if you're depending solely on the intelligence of your attorney, you need to depend. Yeah, I saw a lot of heads nod, right? Those are people who have experience. Things like quitclaim deeds, things like limited power of attorneys, all the documents, addendums, whatever is needed to safely protect you and to protect the seller at that closing table, you need to learn about those documents, right? So exit strategy, protection, and then lastly, tax mitigation. Not to be confused with tax evasion, right? Tax mitigation. How do we get out of this deal and pay Uncle Sam the least amount possible, right? Whenever I could personally line up those three things, I pulled the trigger. And what does pulling the trigger actually mean? That property went from a lead to a deal. A lead being, I really think the seller likes me, and we're going to sit on his sofa and we're going to strike a deal right there, versus a deal. It is under contract. I have a purchase and sales agreement that I can now take and offer it with a lending opportunity, which is another packet of paper, by the way, to private lenders, right? Or hard money lenders. I like private money for acquiring the property, and if I want to keep it, not flip it, then I'll refinance it hard money or with banks, credit unions, that kind of thing. But learn these three things and turn your leads into deals, okay? All right. Most people, and we're getting to Airbnb. I just have to start here, okay? Most people earn their eat money outside of real estate, especially when they're starting. I think a lot of people who are just beginning, they find that shocking because real estate investors seem so wealthy, right? A lot of times there's not just one person, there's several people that are required to make that deal happen. But down here in this bottom corner, we've got three different divisions of income. One I'm going to call active income, right? They're in there painting. What does that really mean, active income? Typically, they're doing it once and they're getting paid once. So a wholesale, right? You do it once, you get paid once. A flip, you do it once, you get paid once, right? This one up here, we're going to call that passive income. But that is totally a false name for this. Actually, it's inactive income. Passive income is highly romanticized. Do you think Donald Trump is holding hands all day, every day on the beach? No, of course he's not. But that man's got a lot of passive income. So it's inactive income, right? You set it up, and it's still paying you continuously. It's going to take some work, okay? And what do we have down here in the bottom corner? retirement. So typically, when you're doing a real estate deal, it's going to fall into 3 categories: active, inactive, or retirement, okay? And you have to decide which one you want to build for yourself. Where are you at in life, right? Cash flow makes you rich. All right, so I got this set up from Bigger Pockets. How many of you guys know Bigger Pockets? Right? Woohoo! Good job. So whenever I first started, I told you I was in flipping. Whenever I went from flipping houses into rentals, that was a really hard shift for me. You know why? Before I was a full-time rental owner, right? That's mostly what I did. I was also flipping houses, and I was a waitress. My husband, he was the bartender. He was the one who trained me. And the day I quit that restaurant, I'm wearing an undershirt, by the way, as I'm ripping off my chef coat and walking out of that restaurant, I'm like, he quits too. And he's going, no, no, I don't. He knew somebody had to earn an income, right? So I left a place of making some eat money, right, while I was flipping houses. And I stepped into not making the same amount of cheddar, right? Flipping houses. I wouldn't touch a flip unless I was going to make at least $30,000 or $40,000 minimal, up to 6-figure flips. And I do a lot of those. You can ask my private lenders. I do a lot of them. I see you, Grant Davis. So whenever I made the switch, I was like, I have to choose something that gives me the most cash flow possible, or else I ain't going to make it. My family is used to getting chunks of money at a time to survive off of, right? So I chose Airbnb because of the spread, how much you can make. Hindsight, fast forward to today, I realized that every single piece of property has 4 ways to win. Not only is there cash flow, but there's appreciation, debt paydown, and tax benefits. Let's talk about this. What is cash flow? That is your rental income minus your property expenses, right? Equals cash flow. So a lot of people, they'll get into Airbnb arbitrage, rental arbitrage. Who knows what that is? Okay? Let me pitch it to you a different way. How many people know what master leasing is, right? It's the same thing, but it's what older people call rental arbitrage. All right, for all the teens and all the 20-somethings, it's also what y'all call rent to rent. That's it. That's the end. Rent to rent. So we got master leasing, arbitrage, and rent to rent. All these are the same model, but it focuses on cash flow. You don't own the property, so you're not actually building any equity appreciation, pay down. None of that's happening, right? So that's where I focused in the beginning. Now I'm at the point where I'm focusing on the others. So number 2, appreciation. This is the amount your home goes up on average per year. So the national average annually states that your house is going up 3.8% per year in the United States. Let's round down for simplicity, just say 3%. But how many of you landlords know that with inflation happening right now, that's a lot more than what the average is? Who agrees? Your house's value in the last 5 years, some houses have doubled. 50%, not 3. That's the national average over the long haul, right? So appreciation is a very, very valuable thing. Pay down, debt pay down. So if you start at $500,000 and every month you're paying $3,000 on that mortgage, it is ticking down. And if you don't sell for 5 years, right, you've created a spread, not counting the appreciation. So if you bought it at $500,000, it may be worth $650,000 by the time you're ready to sell or pull out some of the equity, right? So there are 2 ways to win right there. And then regular depreciation, tax benefits. So there's, of course, regular depreciation, or if you are running Airbnb short-term rentals, you can do short-term rental as an accelerated depreciation, bonus depreciation, okay? So to do that, actually, you will need a cost segregation report. Down there at the bottom, for those of you in the back who maybe can't see, that's strcostseg.com. That's who I would recommend to get a cost segregation report and actually be able to claim accelerated depreciation on your short-term rentals. They're one of the best prices out there. But another thing to note on that is you need some active management in the business. Now, I'll tell you this. Short-term rental, they are a hospitality business. I can automate a lot of it. But at the end of the day, you're making a much bigger cash flow, and it is about hospitality. So you have to keep yourself in the game a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the business you chose to be in, right? And so if that is the case, maybe you don't want 100 doors or 50 doors. Maybe you want to cap it at 10 or 15. But it's up to you, right? So there are actually 4 ways to win whenever it comes to short-term rentals. So cash flow, that's the one that I got in for, right? Let's talk about this. Let's run some scenarios here. So Airbnb, using Airbnb, at $250 per night average daily rate and 80% occupancy, so if 30 days, right, 100% occupancy, let's say 80%, that's 24 nights. That comes out to generate gross over $6,000 per month. How many Airbnbs have you seen or stayed at where it was $250 a night? That's pretty common, right? That happens often. Look at that number from one property. Holy cow. Now it's gross, right? You're going to have to deduct your expenses. That's still pretty good considering that 12-month rental, a lot of those landlords, they're only making anywhere from $100 to $450 a month. That's pretty common, depending on the amount of repairs, how old the house is, that kind of thing, right? So let's run a second scenario. A portfolio of 13 homes rented at $77 per night. Again, you're going to have vacancy at an 80% occupancy, which is pretty easy to get, right? 80%, 24 nights, what could that generate? For 13 homes, that's $1,000 net per day. Already took into account what the average cost for, mortgage, insurance, rent, anything like that. It's already in there. Holy cow. That's pretty good, you guys. How many of you do you think that if you tried to do one house per year could get to 13 houses? That's doable, right? Exactly, it's doable. All right, so let's talk about some of the objections I always hear. I don't want to run a hotel. Number one thing, I don't want to run a hotel. You know what? It is a hospitality business. I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, it's not, it's easy breezy, there's nothing to it. There is. But you know what? You can navigate with correct systems and help in place. You can navigate a lot of the headache that everyone is sitting there going, yeah, I tried it. You know what? We are in a new age, and this AI is good stuff. TikTok said my market was saturated. How adorable. We have tools like airdna.co, Mashvisor. I see some of you writing down Mashvisor, Rabbu, R-A-B-B-U, Rabbu. These 3 resources, they're data aggregators. What does that mean? That means that it scans the internet for, in this case, OTAs, online travel agencies, and it feeds back that data into these data aggregators. And they are able to compile it, and they're able to give you quantitative data, metrics that you can use to find out if your market truly is saturated. And if you're wondering what that looks like, what are you actually looking for, I've got 5 key points. We can talk about it later. Get with me. But I can tell you in about 5 minutes if your market is actually saturated or if it's just being underutilized or maybe there's an optimization problem in your account, right? That's all Airbnb is. You are literally one account in a big cog, right? And if you don't trigger the algorithm, you're not going to show up. Doesn't matter how hard you worked on the house. I don't want my place to be trashed from parties. Dun, dun, dun. Right? Your place is already getting trashed. I talked to your daddy, He's got some stories, right? I don't want Schedule C taxes, active income. Well, just so you guys know, I'm not Schedule C taxes. I am doing well as far as that goes. But someone, let's say this. The IRS hasn't completely defined what it means to be, what is it called? Substantial services. Thank you. That's it. Substantial services. Yeah. So that hasn't been completely defined yet. So there is some gray zones there, right? I won't be able to screen my tenants. Actually, you can. There are services now, if they are truly short-term rental guests, in most states, it's going to be like your 28 days and less stays, where you can screen those tenants effectively. So if they've ever had a party, been blacklisted on any of the OTAs in any way, shape, or form, even if they've created too many Airbnb accounts in their history, right? Or if they live within a 20-mile radius of the property, anything like that, it can get kicked back out to you. What is the name of that service? AutoHost. AutoHost will screen your tenants for you automatically before they book, and you can deny them, right? City regulations. Yep, it's happening. And you know what I got to tell you? Go where you are wanted. Go where you are wanted. Because there's a lot of places that would love to have your business, okay? Platform dependency. That's a real thing. That is people being dependent on Airbnb could be a problem, especially if someone claimed bed bugs. Maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't. Or, let's flip the script and say, what stops you from having 2 Airbnb accounts, right? What stops you from having a direct booking website? What stops you from being on all the other OTAs? And up here, we're only talking about 2 or 3 of them. There are literally like 40 different online travel agencies that are super popular. Airbnb is the one that everyone's heard of, but they've got competitors, and they've got good competitors coming up pretty fast, actually. And the last one, it's not a passive 12-month rental business. Of course it's not. But you're making like $250 as a 12-month rental, and we make $1,000 to $3,000 a month spread. Those are pretty good numbers, man. Pretty good. So you pick your battle is what I'm saying, right? All right, statistics. A lot of people come to me and they're like, Alisha, what about the community impact? This is taking away rentals from all the people, all the communities. But is it really? Let's dive into that, right? Total rentals in the United States currently 44 million plus, okay? That's what the U.S. reports back. Total vacation rentals, furnished rentals, 1.3 million. That's a market share of 2.95. You're wrong. Less than 3%. Are you kidding me? It's not like furnished rentals. We're hearing a lot about them on the news. And you know what? There are some big boys that have gotten their hands in the cookie jar, if you know what I mean, whenever it comes to Airbnb. Of course they want you to quit. They want to have majority control, a monopoly on that industry, of course, right? But the truth is, are they just sucking up all the rental homes in the area? No, they're not. A lot of 12-month rental landlords, whenever the whole eviction thing happened and people couldn't evict their tenants, they shifted over into short-term rentals. You know what also happened? They shifted back. You know why? They didn't automate. They didn't have systems. They didn't have cleaners. They were in there scrubbing themselves or making their wife do it, causing a divorce, right? So, all to say, they got out of the business. They got their wife back, right? The average daily rate for short-term rentals in the United States is $259 a night in 2021. Y'all, if you add that up at an 80% occupancy again, now it's gross, that's over $6,000 a month. I didn't make that up. $259 a night is the average. That's good money. How many of those houses would it take for you to actually have retirement income? Or better yet, for the newbies who raised your hand, how many of those would it take for you to replace your W-2? Sweet freedom. In the words of my 4-year-old. Sweet freedom, Mommy. Yeah. Yeah, where'd she learn that? Sassy. All right. So, now that I have actually had a company that has made it, lost some, made it again, let's talk about reverse engineering this process. Let's talk about the end in mind, right? How many of you guys are serial entrepreneurs? You own more than one business or one exit strategy? Tom Berry, I haven't hugged you yet. How many of you who have sold businesses, own several businesses, can agree that these are true statements? Fundamentals of a sellable business. Systems and procedures, right? That's a big deal. That's what put McDonald's on the map, right? Recurring revenue. Think about it. Airbnb, VRBO is their recurring revenue. Reviews. Easy peasy, baby. I got a job for that. We make it happen automatically. Protected margins. What does that mean? Right? Protected margins. So can you go up on your price as well as go down and still have business? Right? Are you safe? What kind of business are you in? Right? Client acquisition strategy. How are you getting new clients? And if you're in a box thinking, well, Airbnb is the only way I get new clients, oh, you are so wrong. Let me tell you, we're about to talk about target markets, but there are a lot of people to dig into out there, okay, who need furnished housing. Is it scalable? It's as scalable as you want it to be. We started out this conversation by me telling you about the family accounts that get with me on consults for 100 plus doors at a time. Is that scalable? How big do you want to be? Now, I'll tell you my model. My brother, he's a little crazier than me. He buys a lot more houses than me. But I have come to a place where I like my peace and freedom. And I try to buy about one house per month. He buys like 3 or 4 houses a month. But with my one house per month, I'm still flipping a lot of those. But I only want to keep 1 to 3 doors in my furnished rental portfolio per year. The rest get sold. And you know what? That's good for me. I am 34 years old. By the time I hit 70, do you think my baby wants all them doors? No, right? She don't want all that. So I take the best. I take the cream of the crop, the ones I like the most, the ones that have the best occupancy. Whenever the flip is finished, if the numbers are still beautiful, I'll keep it. And that's the end. And by the way, on that note, Tom Berry is a lender on a couple of my houses, right? So might want to talk to him about some hard money lending, keeping things long term. It's easier than you think, and it's in this room, okay? All right, safety moat. What does that mean? Do you have a competitive edge? Do you offer something different than your competitors do? And what does that look like? What can you take it up a notch where people want to come to your properties? We have. I'll tell you, every single new cleaner that we onboard, when they come into our dry stock, our owner's area, like our building, they look around, they go, wow, I've never seen it. Yeah, because we do it different. We do it different. We have systems in place. They get an onboarding packet. Everything's organized on this house for front of the house, which means everything the guests use, and everything's organized on this side of the building for back of the house, everything the cleaner uses, right? It's perfectly in line with their training, their checklist. It's all beautiful. And that's from systems and automation, right? All right, so when do you scale and automate? The term hectic host from Pam Whitworth, I got a kick out of that. She's one of our friends in the community. And Automate or Die by Ron LeGrand. Some of you recognize that name. Days filled with panic, running around, overwhelmed just to get prepared for the soon arriving guest. If you have more than 5 houses and that you've cleaned any of them in the last quarter, it's time to make a change, right? Hello, here's your sign. Some of you hosts are going, oh, I see you out there. Bless your hearts. That's a southern thing. When you start considering you need help, you're 3 months too late. You've been needing help, okay? You're 3 months too late. Slow down and hire the help, okay? I had 20-something properties at one point, and I got to the point during COVID, I had to liquidate. I had to slow down, steady the foundation, the shifting waters, right? And I had to build back, systematize. If I didn't, I was going to lose my company. I was going to lose my houses. It got nasty, right? And that came with a lot of hard decisions. That came with firing all my help because they don't want to convert. You know what? Sometimes I have to do that. And then I realized that a lot of these automations could do better than they did, right? Building a solid foundations. So procedures, these are things like your company policies, automations, right? This is where you're working typically, commonly in our day and age, with the computer systems that communicate with each other. Your cell phone communicating with your laptop, right? Systems themselves. So we have a system for how we handle linen, right? The back of the house. Instead, some hosts, they do a purple bag service, meaning a local cleaner company, they're going to come by and pick up the dirty linen during the cleaning window. That's one way. Or you yourself, you can take them home and have the cleaners drop them off at your house where you can wash them. Do you hate your life? Right? It's bad. That's a bad idea. Or you can do what we do. We have what we call a cleaner's closet, also referred to as a lockup area. And this is where we have one set of linen on the beds, and then two sets in the lockup, one of which is the replacement, so they can pull the soiled, put them in the wash, pull the clean, put them on the beds, and then one backup in the case there's an emergency, right? That system, that's exactly what it is. It's how we rotate the linen. Linen can be one of the most confusing things in your Airbnbs. It's one of the things that can cause your vacancy to go up. When your vacancy goes up, that's the death of your business. Let's just break down the numbers real fast. If you have to accommodate your cleaners 4 days a month, they say, oh, my kids will get out of school late, I can't be there. We don't tolerate that stuff. Either you get it or you don't, and if you don't, pass it. Pass it on to the next cleaner, right? We will onboard so many cleaners where someone will pick that up, right? We don't have that issue in my company because we have set a policy and we refer back to the policy. When they say, but we're friends, we got a policy. Nope. So, all to say, if you had 10 houses, let's say, right? A lot of you in your lifetime, you can come up with 10 houses, and you have to accommodate 4 vacancies per night. Let's just say that's $100 a night. That's $4,000 a month you just left on the table to be nice to your cleaners. No way. We don't do that. I like our policies. They're short, sweet, to the point, right? Artificial intelligence. This is an evolving field, and it is a beautifully evolving field. I'm so excited for this, you guys. Artificial intelligence is just that. Automations, they're doing tasks that are repetitive for you. Systems, how you do things, right? Our grandparents in their general stores, they had procedures. They had policy. They used SOPs, a standard way of doing things. They didn't exactly have all the automations we have, and they sure didn't have artificial intelligence, which means intelligent, you guys. Some of my guests will have a full-blown conversation with my AI. And I mean, it's good. It has taken all my Airbnb communication, mirrored me. It learned how I speak, how I address things, how the most common responses I give, and it reacts to my guests now the same exact way I would. It gets things wrong, of course. It's in its early years. Some guy was talking about, I got a flat tire, and the AI responded and said, no, you booked a condo, not a flat. And I was like, how embarrassing. So, I mean, we've got our days, but in general, it is spot on. And in general, it responds more empathetically than I would. It gives, instead of it saying, sounds great, right? It's like, that's so good. We can't wait to see you. Thanks for choosing to be our guest, Alisha, right? I'm like, that was easy, right? So, artificial intelligence is just that. It's smart. It's creating on its own. That's a big difference there, you guys. But capital equipment, AI, is distilled labor, for sure. All right, so I selected 3 of my business systems to talk about today, one of which is my operation system. So managing systems between hardware and users, right? Pricing, specialized competitive pricing structures that maximize revenue through analysis and market trends. Marketing, combining various tools, channels like OTAs, methodologies to promote and sell a target audience. All right, so we're going to break these down real quick. First off, it goes back to your team. This does require human beings. We have to at least do 2 things. My job, I have 2 jobs in my company. Monitor and make decisions. Whenever I get to be with beautiful people like you up here on stages like this, I have a second in command. It's my co-host. And you know what her job is right now? Monitor and make decisions. And you might be saying, well, who's she monitoring, Alisha? That AI. That's who she's monitoring. She's monitoring the automations. It's doing everything for her. She's just kind of keeping her eye, making sure everything populated. There's no hiccups, right? But how many of you guys can relate to this? There's you in the front, the co-host. Who's that thing? Who knows that? That's so true. Contractors, and then a primary cleaner. So whenever we're talking about these individuals, your co-host is going to be helping you. And honestly, that person can eventually replace you. For me, I have that person working hourly till they hit about the 6-month mark, and then they'll go salary, right? Because they're kind of keeping an eye on a thing 24/7, just like you do as the owner, right? I'm still there. I just don't do as much. The contractors, whenever you hire contractors, I'm going to highly encourage you to hire 2. And you let them know this ahead of time. You hire one for the daytime and one for the nighttime. The daytime contractor, he needs to be clean cut, have his own tools, right? Wipe his shoes at the door, can speak well because he's your figurehead in that moment, right? He's representing you. And you tell this person, hey, look, if I call you out, you're going to be on call. I'm going to take good care of you. And then you hire another contractor and you say, look, you're my nighttime guy. If I ever have to call you, you're going to be compensated. Why? Because you don't want to be the one digging a Tonka toy out of the toilet. You want him to do it, right? So, with that being said, this guy can be a little more rough and tumble because he's showing up in the middle of the night. But you're not going to have to call these individuals often. They're independent contractors, 1099s, right, you guys? So, really and truly, primarily in your team is going to be your primary cleaner. What does she do? I'm going to assume it's a she. Mine are, right? She's onboarding your other cleaners. What do I give her in return for being willing to do that? She gets a first pick at all the cleanings. She's considered in my software primary cleaner. Every reservation comes to her. If it does not accommodate her schedule, she can deny it and it goes to the backup cleaners, right? So she gets first dibs on everything. She also makes sure that the inventory is so all my cleaners, they're my watchdogs. They report the inventory. It goes to a system, and then that business system goes to Amazon where it's ordered, and it gets shipped directly to the dry stock facility. One of my primary cleaners shows up. She unpacks it and puts it on the shelves, right? I'll also give that person some bonuses. So, yeah, this is a wonderful team member. Your co-host is acting as you. That's about it. This system right here, those people, how many houses can they effectively oversee with good systems in place? I'm going to say most can do anywhere from 8 to 15 houses. You can push it higher than that, but you start stretching their ability. Now, the co-host, mind you, they can be a completely virtual employee. So you can train people in the Philippines to do this. How many of you guys have VAs, right? Okay, they exist. All right, so we're going to make some notes here. Hire slow, fire fast, right? When they don't work, don't try to fix all their problems. For us, our hiring technique boils down to 30, 30, 30, right? It's 30% interview, 30% background and references, how qualified are they, and then 30% the results of the DISC test. How many of you actually know what a DISC test is? Ooh, I like this crowd. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little more on that. So whenever it comes, let's talk about like my layout. I am a D, for those of you who didn't recognize it. I am a D, and my co-host, she is an SC. Why? I need her to have humility. She took the test, and there's only 4 things that you can rank on this test, right? She ranked an SC. Just take that note. Later on, whenever you hire this person, that's all you need to know, SC. Why? I needed her to have the willingness to follow a checklist, and yet the willingness to listen and to be accountable and have humility. She needed that, right? Whenever I hired my co-host, after she went through my Indeed funnel, she responded to the very last email her way. And then I replied to her. And then on that last reply, she completely mirrored me. And I was like, thank you, ma'am. And why? Why did that matter to me? This person has to be me in the communication with my guest. Anytime that she's handling resolutions, like the resolution center with Airbnb, she has to be me. And I wanted to make sure that the person I hired could mirror me. And she did it the day I hired her. Don't try to fix the people. Find the right person, right? What's a book called where he says this? Put the right people in the right seats on the bus. What's that? Anybody know? There you go. I love it. Thank you. So my co-host is an SC. My primary cleaner, she's a C. Why do I want her to see? Because I want her to analyze, and she can't get enough information, and she's going to double check my list. She's going to go through and check herself on the way out. She is a high C personality, right? You want your bookkeeper to be a high C personality. The DISC test, if you don't know what that is, it really matters, right? But for these two positions, that's all you really need to know. That's been my experience with the people I've worked with and hired in my past. Where can you find these people? LinkedIn, right? That's a shocker to a lot of people. Hiring off of LinkedIn, they put all the information just right there, just search it, right? And you can just send them a message. How easy. Onlinejobs.ph for your virtual assistants, Upwork.com, and Fiverr. And here's a big thing for a lot of you owners. You have got your businesses by the death grip. I mean, you have to give your staff the staff. Does that make sense? You have to be willing for them to make mistakes because they're not going to be professionals. They're not going to know everything like you do. So be willing to hand it off, right? Automations. What can I automate in my Airbnb business? I can automate guest communication, right? I can automate guest vetting. That happens without me. Automating booking calendars. So if someone books on VRBO, Airbnb, the calendar is going to block itself. Yep, take a picture of that. It's good. Automated revenue management. Now, we're going to talk about this one a little bit, but revenue management using things like pricelabs.co, it does a great job. But there's two things that you as the owner should be reluctant to take your thumb off. Two things. Pricing strategy, because it's the reason you're in the business. It's the bottom line. Pricing strategy and responding to the resolution center with Airbnb. Only you should do that for a while until you really trust that co-host, okay? But for the most part, you can get dynamic pricing through revenue management. It does a really good job, but I throw in some extras myself. Automated reviews. Everything is a 5-star review until it's not. And you might be thinking, well, I want to leave them an actual review. It's got a timer. So when they check out, you can put it on a 3-day timer. You don't have to send them a review immediately. When the cleaners arrive and they're like, oh, this place is trashed. You know what? You have 3 days. You can go in and edit that review. But if everything is typically fine, which is the case for most people are reasonable, right? Most people leave your house pretty nice. It automatically sends out the 5-star review. Automated cleaning schedules, quality control, and inventory and payments, all for your cleaners. Think about that, guys. Cleaning schedule, no more of the days where you screenshot your Airbnb calendar, you send it to them, then you Venmo them, and it's so annoying. I see some of you are like, yeah, I'm over it. I'm overdoing that. You know what? You don't have to. When the guest cancels, you then have to update them. Don't do that stuff anymore, right? Automated bookkeeping, yes, it exists. Automated key exchange. So I still know hosts who drive to the houses after every guest checkout and they change the digital door lock. My door locks change automatically. Based on the last 4 digits of the phone number of the guest, it rotates the number, right? And it gives them that number. Automatic. I don't even look at it. I don't know. I don't have a clue. I have my own admin code, but all that can happen seamlessly without you. Automated check-in and check-out notifications. So when they arrive and they use the door code, you can get a notification. When the cleaner arrives and she's physically boots on the ground at the property, I get a notification. Ooh, I'm running behind you guys. A business in a backpack. Let's talk about this. The reason I say this is because 85% of my business has been completely automated. Increased productivity, error reduction, cost savings, predictability, enhanced guest satisfaction. And you know what? A lot of people might think that one like, no way. People want interaction. They really don't. We're at a day and age where people actually choose not to go to the cashier, but to the self-checkout. The same thing is happening in other areas, guys. It's just the way things are moving. Competitive advantage, right? Because you're doing things, you're able to go a lot faster than all the other hosts. What does that mean? If you have 10 houses, so for us, we send out like 11 or 12 automated messages for every check-in, times 10 houses. Think about that. That's a lot of messages to have to type. So you have a competitive advantage. Cultural translation, so market share. Being automated, you can get your ads in Spanish. You can get your ads in any language. That opens up a lot of doors, right? Scalability and no people problems. So my AI has never asked me for maternity leave. It's never told me that the coffee wasn't brewed. It's never asked for vacation or a raise. It shows up all night long whenever I'm not available. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. This is a very valuable slide, and I'm going to encourage everyone to take a picture of it. This is my operating system. We use Hospitable as the brains of the operation. If you see here, you got the host, and the host has listed their property on VRBO, Airbnb. Those reservations feed down into Hospitable, and Hospitable, every time there's a reservation, then feeds that to Turno, which is your cleaner management, and the moment there is a checkout for that reservation, a new cleaning populates. And it instantly is emailed or texted to your cleaners, where someone picks it up and you get a notification. And then when they arrive, they have to clock in, you get another notification. And then they can't clock out and get paid until they do your checklist, until they do your inventory in the owner's closet, and then until they take pictures of the space with timestamps for your quality control. And then when they hit complete clean, it issues you or them the money. You never had to mess with it. You see how beautiful that is? That's Turno. Rank Breeze is how you can optimize your listing so you get found. It doesn't matter how many hours you put in on that property if no one knows you exist, right? Guest management. So guest messages happens in Hospitable, and that's automated. Or you can use guestguru.ai, guestguru.ai, and it will have a full-blown conversation with your guest on your behalf, right? Because it's actual artificial intelligence. Sledge Encode for automating your locks, that's what we use. Price Labs, that's what we use. Now, if you want some bookkeeping on top of that, you can use getclearing.co, right? So this system, this is StayFi. This is how you can retarget your guests. How many people travel to a city to see grandma, have a good chance of coming back the next year? A lot. Now, what if you could automate those emails? It exists, right? Minute, that's measuring the decimals in the room to see if they're having a party. It can measure the air and find out if someone's been smoking in the house, right? Pricing strategy. This is how your pricing calendar should work. If this vase was your calendar, the rocks are 4 to 14-day reservations. You want to fill your calendar with the rocks, the bigger reservations. And you know what you do? You give the perfect price for the perfect stay. So the sand represents 1 to 3 day reservations. Now, it's not 100% full. You're not going to get 100% occupancy, but you can get 80% occupancy, right? So you make the price go up for the shorter stays, but the perfect price for the perfect stay. What does that typically look like when you're actually performing pricing strategy? So if this was the calendar, the 1st through the 30th, the further out on your calendar, and this is the same way that companies book hotels, they book airlines, right? Everything that has a timeline on it has this setup. The further out, the price goes up. And then the reservations, they are booked closer to the following day, if that kind of makes sense. So I don't know why this is, but millennials on Airbnb, 30%, and this is not true in my case for my reservation, but it's true statistically, 30% of all reservations happen within 24 hours of the time they're supposed to arrive. Whenever I book a place, I book ahead of time. I like to know where I'm going myself, but so most calendars have a 21-day lead time because of this, right? So you're going to drop your price as it gets closer to tomorrow, right? Airbnb Revenue Manager. This is a person. This is a person that you can hire. Did you know that hotels hire this person? Whenever you get past like 5 to 9 properties, you need to consider this person. Who are they? They are somebody who they use your tools, online travel agencies, like the companies they're working within. They use everything. Pricing strategy, average daily rates. They take all these things into consideration. Things like local events happening, and they alter your prices. That's the number one thing you can do to get booked. If you have a vacancy problem, you have a pricing strategy problem. Okay? So, pricing tools, rule sets, promotions, availability, fees to catapult your occupancy rates, to drive them up. Typically, they make a percentage of any sales they bring in. So I often see it between 10, 20% for just what they generate, right? And this is one of the last tasks that if an owner is good at it, that they relinquish control of, because it's really the thing that changes the money dial in the company. All right, so an example of pricing strategy, you might be wondering, what does that mean? What are you doing inside of Airbnb? So one thing that a revenue manager would do is turn on the host-only fee. All of you, host-only fee. It's what they're calling simplified pricing now. They rebranded it. And it's where you get charged the entire 15%. That was the part, right? Who wants that? No one wants that. But you know what you do have? You're paying the cost of vacancy right now. And oftentimes it's a lot more than 15%. So if you turn that on, you can always turn it off. If you want to turn it off, you can. But you know what? That catapults your listing in Airbnb, because it tells Airbnb that you're a willing host. You want guests, right? It'll drive you up in the rankings really fast. I don't like having to pay 15% either, but what I do like is having a 92% occupancy rate with, mind you, with 4-night reservations plus, big reservations, because you're on page 1 in a lot of areas, right? So swap the management fee. What does that mean? If you have the ability, because not all accounts have it, I think you need like 5 or 6 or more properties to be able to get this, but if you have a fees option, or if you're a superhost, I think you get it then. If you have a fees option, remove your cleaning fee. Why? It drives you up in the algorithm by offering zero cleaning fee, but instead plug it in as a management fee. Woo! All right, rule sets. Airbnb is quickly turning promotions, monthly, weekly, highlight these days and say it's a 3-day special. Those promotions are becoming a legacy tool this summer. They're trying to move it into legacy, which means, what do they want you to do? How do you run promotions? You're going to use something called rule sets. It's in your calendar, and it says rule sets. Delete all your promotions, click on the rule sets button, and create your promotions there. The hosts that are doing that now are being preferred. They're preferred hosts. So they're running your promotions on the front page, right, for your community, for your area. So you want to delete your promotions, add rule sets. Smart pricing as a tool. I don't like smart pricing. That's dumb pricing. I say that tongue in cheek. If you turn on their smart pricing for a little bit, it throws you up in the algorithm. Because Airbnb wants you to use their native tools, native to the company. They want you to use their tools and not Price Labs. So turn on the button. Let it drive you up in the rankings and turn it off. Right? You're still climaxing. You're still going up. Use it as a tool. This is what a revenue manager would do. Marketing system. It has been my experience that across the United States, if you are on these platforms, these 7 platforms, you will not have a vacancy issue if you're on them and you're optimized. Airbnb, VRBO, those are short-term rental, right? Corporate rentals, more or less. Furnished Finder, Zillow, Facebook Marketplace, apartments.com, and if you have a Google My Business page. Now, why do I list all 7, including midterm rentals? Midterm rental sites is because there are yin and yang, night with day. There's a balance to this. You're going to have a high season and a low season. During the high season, you're on Airbnb, VRBO. During the low season, before the low season gets here, you start marketing on these others, right? You avoid vacancy. Vacancy is the death of this business. All right, target markets. When you're avoiding vacancy, who do you target? Vacationers, right? Graduate students. And I took a note here. Traveling nurses and graduate students, they'll always ask for a discount. Supply and demand, baby. You ain't got to give them a discount. I'm just telling you. Retirees, home builder clients. How do you find home builder clients? Well, you get on Google and you type home builders, Richmond, right? You get the list and you call them and you ask to talk to their sales manager. You say, hi, my name's so-and-so, and I run a corporate housing company in Richmond. I'd love to get your email and be able to send you when we have vacancies for your clients to book with us. You just keep building that list. Every time you get a vacancy, you send out a mass email to all those people, right? Military, refinery workers, business travelers, insurance, displaced housing. Ooh, baby. That's a good one, right? They stay for a long time. They pay your top rate, and they're happy to be there, and they generally take good care of the property because their agent is holding them accountable. Their adjuster is holding them accountable. It's a beautiful sweet spot to get in with insurance, displaced housing. Traveling nurses, industry workers. Now, whenever it comes to accepting reservations that you don't want, in most states, I know Jeff Watson just spoke about this, but I think we've forgotten something. You can just say no. If you don't want a guest, you can just say no. You don't have to say why at all, right? Or what I tell my co-hosts to say, I am uncomfortable with this reservation. Fight with that. Fight me. I am uncomfortable with this reservation. You can't fight me. Okay? So that's a great way to get out of anything, right? But doing this, creating these lists, that's building your competitive edge. That's how your company gets ahead of the others. Getting a Google My Business page. How many of you guys have used Google? Right? Never. So whenever you travel somewhere, if you were going to be the traveler, what's the chances that you would Google the city and Google furnished housing available, corporate housing in that city? Very likely. If you're not on Google, you don't exist. It's free, okay? Whenever I built my Google My Business page, I hired this little guy here, Sean Joshi. He had a pre-done course. It was real cheap. At the time, I think I paid like $60 for his little course, and it's probably still very affordable. And he walked me through step-by-step how to build a Google My Business page that didn't get banned. Nothing bad happened to me. And now, our Google My Business page generates 2,000 travelers. When they click on it, it goes to my website. You know how many direct bookings that is? It's a lot. I would say out of the 2,000, we probably have 200 that spend some time on the pages, save it, that kind of thing, and then about 7 people book per month out of those. I'm okay with that, you know? Each person could book 4 or 5 days or more, right? So getting a direct booking website, and I also do that through Hospitable, the same tool that we just talked about. Hospitable now has a direct booking website. Thank God, with a global booking widget. That may not make any sense to you guys, but it's where you can actually type in the dates and everything there. It's a wonderful thing. This is actually a sign, a little magnet about the size of a postcard, and it's hanging on the refrigerators at my property. They can walk up to it, scan it, and they can book directly with me. Ooh, now they all have our business number, our business contact. Artificial intelligence. You guys, I want you to take a picture of this. These are up and coming. So Reimagine Home, when people are really struggling to furnish their property, they can take a picture of it empty, and it will furnish it. And it will give them ideas and cost and everything associated, right? Their host aid, that's going to help you create your welcome books. Wonderful, wonderful thing. Guest Guru is going to talk to your guests. Yada will talk to your guests. Rank Breeze, optimizing your listing. Hospitable, all kinds of different things. Air Review. What is Air Review? That is one where typically you get to see what other hosts reviewed that guest. Let's reverse it. Air Review allows you to see what the guest left as a review for the host. So if that guest is real picky and they've left 9 one-star reviews, what's the chances you're going to be lucky number 10? You are. That's you. And you know what? We go back to this. Just say no. Just say no. No is an okay answer. You can just leave it at that. So whenever I get a house, I plug it into my system, which is all my applications, right? And those are on my phone, making it a business in a backpack. It also makes it where I can transfer it to my co-host, right? And then for the people that are the physical moving bodies, it goes out to them in the form of SOPs, standard operating procedures, just like our grandparents had. They had a system for doing things. I hand this system with SOPs to trained individuals, right? Making superhost. So here's some tips. 20%, 20.2% of all hosts are superhost. There is a winter and summer release that happens 2 times every single year with Airbnb. There's always a massive algorithm boost that comes with that. If you follow the trends of the summer and winter release and you do what they say, they're going to change. So if they say, we prefer hosts that don't have a cleaning fee, and what you do is you go and you remove your cleaning fee and you add it as a management fee, you just got beefed up. Anything they say during those release, you want to play along with the game and become a preferred host, right? Pre-booking message. Just a tip. Whenever our guests book with us, before they book, our message says something to the extent of, hi, we really appreciate you considering our place. Just so you know, we live in the neighborhood if you need anything, right? Maybe I don't live in the neighborhood anymore. But you know what it does? I don't have parties at my place. They cancel right there. They're done, right? So, just putting it out there. Put it in your pre-booking message. Terms and service. If you do not read the terms of service for Airbnb, you don't know your rights. If you don't know your rights and you go talk to the customer service for Airbnb, you're not going to win the claims. But if you do know their terms of service and you present that to them, you will win every single claim. Location matters. So, I've said it. For those of you who don't remember, it matters big time. Ideally, your Airbnb is within 30 minutes of a state park. Okay, those are the best performing Airbnbs. All right? Ideally, if you can, just common sense here, if you're within 5 miles of an extended stay hotel, what's the chances of you pulling in market share? Really high, right? They've done millions of dollars worth of research before they built that building. Those investors were guaranteed a 70 to 72% occupancy rate. You can pull that market into your rental, okay? If you wouldn't walk down the street at night, that ain't the Airbnb for you, okay? I just want you guys to take a picture of this. These are some of the lenders that you guys should talk to. I've talked to all of them. All right. Airbnb experience. So you guys, I was kind of iffy about talking about this. Okay. This past summer 2023, I launched a beta course. Some of my students raise your hand if you're some of my students in the beta course. 1, 2, 3. So we got a few here. 4. Ooh, wow. I can't believe. Dario, he's not even here. He's going to be tomorrow. So in my beta course, I pretty much offered 3 different sectors of training, which was actual Airbnb training, right? How do you navigate the waters of these online travel agencies? Tech stack. How do you actually go in and set up every single one of these systems? And then lastly, the template gold mine. The template gold mine is over 100 pages that I've created in my business to understand how to operate. And what do I mean by template gold mine? First off, it's taken me like 4 years to create these. These are the standard operating procedures, how to hire, who to hire, and what that looks like. And by the way, guys, I'm only offering this at Dealmaker. You will not find it anywhere on my website. You will not find it any website at all. And I'm not even selling my beta course. Why? I'm kind of in that spot between, do I want to teach doing the thing or do I want to continue to do the thing, right? A lot of people find themselves there. I'm making good money just doing the thing, so I'm coasting. Why not, right? So I have the beta course in my pocket. It's completely done. But all I want to offer today is the template gold mine to you guys, all right? Ooh, my picture's gone. I don't know what happened to it. But inside that template gold mine is actually going to be a Turno library. That's got 11 training videos. Turno is a very complex portion of my beta course. And I decided to offer this simply because I feel like it's cleaning. The turnover is the true part that hosts struggle with. Think about this, you guys. You have a house, you furnished it, that's set. Outside of being a 12-month rental, what else happens? People come and people go, and people come and people go. Okay, that's the turnover. That's the part that everyone struggles with. How to clean, how to have quality control, how to get supplies back there. So I'm going to give you guys in the Template Goldmine the 11 training videos. It tells you how to hire your teams, how to set those up, how to take and set up quality control photos from your cleaners, how to set up auto payments, find cleaners in the marketplace, the checklist, and the inventory, what we suggest for inventory at least, right? What else is included in the Template Goldmine? I'm going to give you, mind you, there's over 100 different documents, but these are some that my assistant jerked out of there. A copy of my lease. This isn't a lease like mine. This is my personal lease, what we use with a direct booking. All my automated messages, I tell you over 20 that you could use, but for us, we use 11 or 12, depending on the property, for every single reservation, right? How to unlock the door, where to park, what day the trash runs, all those things automated. Vacation rental inventory checklist. What do you buy for your startup, right? And then general and exhaustive house rules. Ooh, baby, this took some experience. Getting punched in the face a lot. Getting to talk to a lot of hosts who got punched in the face. My exhaustive house rules, they're like seven font, and it's 3 pages. My general house rules are 1 page, right? It's general. I'll tell you, those house rules will not apply to 98% of all guests who come in your building. But you know what? It's there for the other 2%. Okay, if I've given you advice based on me being punched in the face, my house rules, and told you to talk to the Resolution Center, raise your hand if I've ever helped you. All right. Lori Eubanks. Tell me this. How much money did you save by the advice I gave you? Yeah, okay. So just right there, that one, her having access to the knowledge about the Airbnb. So these house rules have been directly correlated with the Airbnb terms of service. So whenever I go to the Resolution Center, I say, this is your terms of service, this is my house rules, this is posted in the building, and this is your rule. They broke it, and now they're extorting me. Fight me. I've never lost, right? So whenever you have solid house rules, and my house rules aren't just, oh, don't do this. No, I tell them, this is the act that you're doing wrong, and this is the consequence. If you piss off the balcony, you will get your reservation canceled without eligibility for refund, right? So that's the end. Yeah, okay, remember I said it only applies to the 2%. Most people ain't even going to read it. It's 4 pages, my God. Okay, so to get access to my Template Goldmine, $950. If you are interested, I'm going to be roaming around the back of the building. You're welcome to talk to me. I've got, I don't know, I literally had these door dashed. They sent me a thumb drive, so I put all my Template Goldmines on here. And you're welcome to buy one from me, okay? All right. Also, today, I called my co-host. I was like, hey, do you got access to the website? She said, yeah. I said, for deal maker only, I want you to go onto our website, and I want you to put my phone number. My phone number, my personal email is available on my website right now. If you need to talk to me, we're only going to leave it up. We're only going to leave my phone number on the website for 24 hours, okay? That's it. And then I'm pulling it down. You know why? I've seen how many visitors go to my website. I ain't interested. Peace and freedom. Y'all remember that part? Right? So I'm going to end it here. I'm going to tell you, burnout does not come from working too hard. It comes from not seeing an end in sight, right? That's my little girl. That's who I work for, you guys.
When are you going to bring her to Dealmaker?
Oh, next year. She's 4. She's getting there. Hey, 4-year-old who's sharp cookie.